So this application is effectively to regularise an access created in this area here at land west of 70 South Beach, Heacham. The history of the site is that a barn conversion complex was approved back in 2012, 12/00197. It was implemented, but it was in connection with number 70 itself. Then number 70 was sold off. Unfortunately, the access that served the proposed barns went with number 70 itself. So effectively, you end up with a series of barn conversions that have no access. So the applicant implemented this access identified in red, an associated parking area here on the western side and the eastern side in association with those units. This application seeks to regularise that. So here I'm looking at the access itself. There's a pedestrian access which has been put in as shown here. It's effectively a ramp down to the site. I'm looking, is it north? No, it's east actually. That's east along South Beach Road. I'm looking west along South Beach Road. I don't know quite what's happened there, but anyway. And that is land to the west in the applicant's ownership and does not form part of this application. And then you've got the northern boundary of the approved holiday site, and those are the barns at the back there. Number 70 itself is not part of the application, it's in separate ownership, as I said earlier. Then more of the barns and the associated ancillary buildings. Let me just move that. That's not being very responsive. And then again, further of the ramped area, as you can see here, the parking area for 4 cars. And then the parking area for 2 cars, as shown on the block plan. And then just looking back up to South Beach Road. So the issues outlined on your addenda pages on page 73, you'll note from the report that the land identified to the west, which is this area here, does not form part of the application site. So this application purely seeks to regularise that access in connection with those barns, and one of the conditions attached to the recommendation pages is to that effect. Let's just find it, which is condition 2 on page 80 of your agenda pages. Further alterations are required with regard to the vehicular access as shown on condition 3 and condition 4. The application is recommended for approval and it's brought to planning committee as Councillor Parish has called it in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I have Paul Rawlinson, please? You have 3 minutes, Mr. Rawlinson.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak on the behalf of Heacham Parish Council. We object to the farm access in that the intended traffic using this path is far greater than stated in the application. And this is largely due to the unauthorised west campsite that was just pointed out. That continues its operation throughout the area and significantly increases traffic movements along this track. Heacham Parish Council are keen to ensure that this application does not by default legitimise the use of this unauthorised camping site, which was refused planning in May 2019. We believe it's likely that Norfolk Highways may be unaware that the amount of nature of the actual traffic using this track, because the application didn't appear to indicate true vehicle movements for this. South Beach is a narrow and a busy road, and in recent years, double yellow lines and off-street parking have been added to mitigate the issues with congestion along this track. Visibility for egress from the track is poor, as identified by Highways in their consultation response. And any rise in traffic increases the risk in what is a very narrow road where pedestrians, children and dog walkers all mix with busy traffic. In the report, the surface is described as bound. A visual inspection from the road indicates it's just loose gravel. And the risk is that the increased use of the path could lead to the migration of materials such as the gravel and mud from the unauthorised campsite onto the beach road, risking road safety. It's a flood risk-free area, and flooding is recognised in the Heacham Neighbourhood Plan Policy 17, reducing flood risk. Heavy use of this path, because of the campsite area, is likely to cause compaction of the subsurface, impacting on drainage and increasing the risk of flooding in this area. And in conclusion, the application appears to gloss over the level of use of this track, and with a potentially adequate service could lead to both a flood and a road safety risk. Heacham Parish Council requests that if the committee do grant planning permission, a condition is added stating traffic should only be limited to vehicles and staff using this facility, as offered on page 79 of your agenda pack under other matters. This is slightly different to condition number 2 that refers only to the parking area. And as discussed, we're keen to ensure that this does not legitimise the use of this area for the unauthorised campsite, as that could be done as a separate application at a later date. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, Hannah?
Chairman, I think just thinking of what the speakers just said with regard to the access, there was an existing access there, utilising the farm buildings at the back. I mean, obviously, the unauthorised campsite is subject to a separate investigation in its entirety, and we've certainly checked with legal as to whether this use and this application would interfere with that. At the end of the day, it goes through the use of the land. And obviously that campsite to the west, as it was, or to the right on the screen, this application would certainly not be legitimising that application at all, that use at all, as it's not within the red line and certainly not being applied for. But in terms of the access, I really don't think, because there's obviously existing farm buildings at the back, that we could say that the access can only be used for those barns. Because obviously, an existing access is a matter of fact, effectively.
Right. Okay, Councillor Parish.
Thank you.
You want to speak first?
This entire site is something of a joke in Heacham, and has been going on as a joke for some years. And no doubt people will be fascinated by the decision that's made today. If you look at page 71 and 72, which are the images of the site, and also that picture that's on the screen now of the access. You see it's a pretty big access, pretty wide, big access for what it's considered to be. To the left of the entrance concerning this application is a triangle of land. This is owned and run by the applicant and is the site of the illegal campsite referred to in the text, which has been operating for several years and taken up many hours of officers' and councillors' time. It is now subject to due legal process. The access under consideration serves this campsite as well as the accommodation referred to. If you go along, I haven't seen that field empty for a long time. It's usually full of cars and camper vans and God knows what else that shouldn't be there, and they all use that access. I fail to see how current conditions can prevent access to the camp field. Condition 2 could read, the access and parking areas hereby permitted shall be only for the use of the holiday let accommodation approved under so-and-so. However, the applicant is known to ignore or abuse planning rules, so it may not be effective. Page 74 shows the planning history for this area, and read down the extensive list. Number 1 at the top, refused. Number 2, refused. Number 3, permitted a toilet block for 6 or more staff working in agriculture. Number 4, refused a campsite and toilet block. The last 2 are interesting. Officers were told that application 3 would provide the toilet block, refusing application 4. There were no agricultural workers and never have been, and the block is used by campers on the illegal campsites, breaching the condition placed upon it because the toilet is only supposed to be used by agricultural workers. Now the applicant wants the access legitimised. That's the access to the illegal campsite. Perhaps the condition could require a wall between the access and the camping field. Perhaps the applicant could stop acting illegally and close the campsite permanently, together with all advertisements for the same. Application 5 permitted a fence, 6 was refused, 7 was withdrawn, 8 was invalid, and you get to number 9, which was 10 years ago, agricultural buildings to holiday homes, which this access connects to. And this access should only connect to that. It should not connect to anything else. The applicant is a road developer that has caused and is causing multiple problems to this and other planning authorities. The access under consideration is the access both to an existing permitted development and to an illegal campsite, which is the subject of legal action by this authority. It should only be permitted if it is conditioned to either prevent access to that campsite or ensures that the campsite ceases operations. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please? No? Hannah?
Chairman, I mean, it's clear, obviously, the parish and council parish, consider this, very strongly. If members are minded to say that it shall be the access and parking areas hereby permitted shall only be for the use of the holidays lets, then so be it. That's down to members. Thank you, Chairman.
Proposal.
I'll second it for you. Wait a minute, holiday. I just got to write this down. Right, councillor Blunt.
I think I'll make the same point really. Is there anything in that we could boost the conditions? And I think that's what you're doing to ensure that it is not used.
It wants to be beefed up and stronger so that if something happens, we can come at them. This is what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, because there is a running history here of different things of not being correct. We have an opportunity here now, not necessarily always wanting approved, but if we can top and tail this, we've got a stronger case. And I get sick to death of really, one of the things I'd like to see is an end of these retrospectives. I have mentioned it in a right ear high up, because I feel that this is one of the things that does annoy me. And I know it does, councillor Story. Right, Hannah, do you want to just read out that condition, please?
I think we're going to need to amend the reason as well. So what I'm suggesting is amend condition 2, the access and the parking areas hereby permitted shall only be for the use of the holiday let accommodation approved under 12/00197. The rest of it remains as is. And then reason 2, I think we need to say to ensure the permanent access and availability of the parking manoeuvring areas for the approved development. And the rest of it stays is.
Are you happy with that, councillor Parish? Well, I second it. Members, are we happy to add those new conditions? Thank you. Yes. Then in which case I take the recommendation is to approve, including those new conditions. Okay.
Councillor Bone.
4.
Councillor Bauer.
4.
Councillor Bubb.
4.
Councillor Holmes.
4.
Councillor Hudson. 4. Councillor Lawton. 4. Councillor Manning.
4.
Councillor Parish.
4.
Councillor Rust.
4.
Councillor Spiking.
4.
Councillor Story.
4.
Councillor Tyler.
4.
Councillor DeWally.
4.
Councillor Whitby.
4.
Councillor Sampson. Councillor Rhodes.
4.
And Councillor Blunt.
4.
Yeah,
Then that's
carried unanimous.
carried.